And we are live.
Hello there.
So, I've just come to the conclusion that the internet is the domain of the Sith.
Right? Did you see my tweet about that last night?
No, I don't hang out on
Yeah. Or
Realm for
X?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. So last night, after watching some stuff after our watch along, I tweeted or X'd, if you wonder, are humans inherently terrible, bad, negative people? Just go to YouTube. Much like the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, has been lost. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, has been too. And it really does seem that way. Now, I might make jokes and be crass and, try to be a
Oh,
smart
geez,
ass.
you were a straight up racist last night. When
Anyway,
we were watching
but I don't watch things like with the intent on, ooh, this is going to be great. We can hate on this and it'll get views and blah, blah, blah. That's horseshit. Life's too short. The only time I watch stuff I don't want to watch is when you make me. And like I said last night at the end of this episode, this made me want to see next week's. I'm intrigued. Jury's still out on whether or not I like it or not, because unfortunately, this isn't a This should just dropped it all at once. It's one long movie, and I don't have the complete story yet, so
Right.
I'm waiting to.
Well, but my problem. Look, I understand. Look, if you don't want to watch a show that features a mostly female cast and a cast that doesn't have white men in it, and I understand there are legitimate gripes about that to a certain extent, because two wrongs don't make a right. The funny thing is that these same people that are bitching and whining about that right now were not bitching and whining 20 years ago when it was the opposite. So even though they say, oh, they just, they just want things to be fair, But you know what? Nobody was bitching and whining about lack of representation 20, 30 years ago. Nobody. And so.
And you were right. My takeaway that I really can't wait to talk about. Nobody else has had
No,
that same
no,
take.
I didn't.
I went on Paulie's live stream last night, brought it up. Nobody there, like they actually were like, "Oh wow!" I talked about it in the water cooler on Criticless, and the type of replies I got were, "Wow, that's an interesting take. I didn't see it, but now I do."
Right.
So, like, nobody's talking about what I'm going to talk about.
I think I saw one post that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Vaguely hinted at it, but not as directly as you did.
Well, I mean, if you guys go to supportsalty.com, I hope you have it posted already.
It is.
Our watch along yesterday, you can see in real time. I'm like, wow, this is is this an allegory? Oh, wait. Oh, this is an allegory for XYZ, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
And in between all your racist comments, yes.
Oh, no, that was racist during the movie we're going to
You were
review
racist
tomorrow.
during both, man. You were horrible. You were absolutely horrible.
I was just making jokes. You didn't,
dude.
You didn't like, and I'm not going to use them.
Yeah, you better not use a single term you used last night on tonight's show.
I won't.
I will end this live stream
because of the algorithm. You've already explained it, and people, they're not as bad as you think. Whatever you're thinking, it's nowhere near that bad. Just go to supportsalty.com.
Oh, it's that bad.
No, it's not.
It really is. I mean, you've used some racial slurs I've never even heard before.
I know, that was funny. I can't believe I got it from Pulp Fiction. So I don't know how the one you're referring to was from Pulp Fiction. Christopher Walken's character says it.
But here's my thing: is that okay? So if you wanna bitch and whine because I'm butthurt because there's no white men in it, fine, whatever. I don't care. You can have that opinion, and that can be a completely legitimate opinion. What's not a completely legitimate opinion, however, is when you state things that are just factually incorrect. And one of the talking points that's going through all the hate messaging out there about this show, and I'm sure you've seen it at least a dozen times because this word comes up over and over and over.
No, Stanley, true romance was the N word. I never used that once. I don't use that word
anymore.
You can attest. Well, because of all the flack I got for it last time, even though I had.
But the less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here's, and you tell me if you've seen this 150 times now, that the Acolyte in episode 3 massively retcons Star Wars lore.
Dude, everybody's
And-
saying that. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Where do they get that from?
Well, and here's the gist of it. And yes, we'll do the breakdown of the whole episode in a little bit, but this one aspect of the episode is here's one post, just pulling a random one off of X. The Acolyte makes massive retcon to Star Wars lore, reveals lesbian space witches created life form using the Force long before Darth Plagueis.
First of all,
Now-
they haven't revealed shit yet, people.
Right. They do. Yeah. All they said was, if the Jedi knew how you made the girls, they would not be happy with you. Now, whether that means she was, for all we know, they're clones.
We don't know
because they
anything
do
yet.
look just like mom. And
look, even
they
though
don't look like other mom at all.
I was trying to avoid behind the scenes stuff, but in one of the reviews I watched, it was mentioned that apparently the showrunner said that they took a page out of Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon, and if you know anything about that movie, that's the same. It tells the same story from 3 different points of view, and so supposedly by the time we get to episode 5, we'll have all 3. There's going to be 3 points of view. There's going to be the one we got in the episode we're about to discuss from Osha, then we're going to have Maze, and then we're going to have the Jedi's point of view. So we don't have this complete story yet.
Right, but irregardless, just taking it on the surface.
Irregardless isn't a word.
Yeah, shut up.
Just regardless.
Shut up.
Okay.
So regardless of that, and irregardless is a word because
No,
it's
it's not.
No, it is because people, when I say the word, people know what I mean. Therefore, it is a word.
You sound like a damn fool when you use the word. It's not real. It's not a real
I don't
word.
sound like a damn fool. You sound like an ass when you try to correct people on it.
Okay.
But anyway.
100 days today, by the way, guys.
Oh, congratulations.
Wish we had a little firework thing. That would be fun.
You should just change your name instead of Dork Knight, just the guy that never lets me finish a freaking sentence.
I know, but people love to watch us bicker. That's why it's called Nerd
Yeah,
Fights.
but you got to let me get my point out every once in a while.
Fair enough.
Right. So, what I was trying to say is, as far as this massive retcon.
Oh, hey, Mom. I did that on purpose because you cut me off at the end of every show. But continue. Oh, look at that. Super chat.
And thank you so much, Thomas. Says, Disney is afraid to show viewing numbers. Phantom Menace, also Phantom Menace Episode 3, had the lowest views of all Star Wars. I'm sure people are saying that too.
Well, Valiant Renegade. So I did watch some stuff, and these are guys that, I met through mostly Salty Nerds, and I, while we've disagreed on several things, we've always kept it cordial. But
Right.
I had to stop watching Valiant Renegade's take on it. It was just, everybody's made up their, anyway, go ahead. I'm still interrupting. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you're just not going to ever let me get my point out. So that's all right. Go ahead. And, I can't. You just won't let me talk. Let's see. All right, see if that works now. For some reason, that super chat didn't pop up on the main screen, so I was trying to fix that. Anyway, so let's just take it. Even though it's kind of an assumption, because the only thing they say in dialogue is, if you knew how the kids were created, the Jedi would be pissed. There's no reference to her using the Force or the thread or whatever to create the kids. The only thing we know for sure is that whatever she did, the Jedi would not approve. But irregardless,
Oh, you bastard.
yes, I'm gonna say that word as often as I can now, just to piss you off. Even if
I'm gonna interrupt you again. Hey, Anthony, thank you as always, and love that tie, brother. Talk to you tomorrow.
see, why is it not popping up on the main screen? It doesn't make any sense. It should be there.
It wasn't a super chat. I popped up. The
Yeah,
comment.
but it should be popping up just as a Botrix thing. I don't know why it's not popping up on there. It really is stumping me.
Well, I tell you what, Brian usually has the fire questions, but this one is a setup. But that's the least of our concerns with this show.
No, and look, the visual effects are fine. That's
Really?
They're fine.
For the kind of money they spent.
I'm not. Look, hey, that's just Hollywood bloat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not blaming the Acolyte for the fact. I mean, there. Okay, this time it worked.
There you go. Super chat.
Annoying critics. What's wrong with being a lesbian? Well, nothing. But that's and
God bless him, I say.
anyway. So let's say hypothetically that she did mean directly that she used the Force to create the twins. Does that constitute a retcon based on what was said in Attack of the Clones?
There's no retcon, but check out this comment, because did I or did I not comment on this during the watch along?
Yes, you did mention that you like the music.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we don't know how Darth Plagueis learned how to create life using the Force. Maybe he learned it from the witches. We also, Darth Sidious never says that Plagueis was the only person in all history that was able to do this.
He had to learn it somewhere. I mean,
Right,
people
but
need
I'm-
to wait to bitch
Right.
about that stuff.
I mean, yes, he said, have you ever heard the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? They say that he was so wise and powerful that he could, influence the midichlorians to create life, right? That's awesome. Did he say, oh, and by the way, he's the only person who's ever been able to do this?
No, in fact, he said, like, the Sith have, I can't remember the full thing, but
Yeah.
we have powers considered to be quite unnatural or something
Right.
like that,
And so this is not a retcon. You could do 50 stories about 50 different people that all use the Force to create life, and it would not be a retcon of Darth Plagueis. Unless you do a story that involves Darth Plagueis directly and you do something different. And even then, you can make the argument, well, that, was Palpatine lying to Anakin when they were talking about it, because let's be real, he's a Sith, so.
Not exactly known
Yeah.
for their honesty, but when we do the frame by frame, apparently neither are the fucking Jedi. So there's
Well,
that. Excuse my language. Sorry.
Yeah, you're just gonna. I don't, so I don't see a retcon here at all. I don't see any conflict with what Palpatine said in the prequels about Darth Plagueis and this. And the funny thing is, people are saying, "Oh, this is long before Darth Plagueis." How do you even know that?
Yeah, because you.
For all we know, Darth Plagueis is in this show.
All you nerds who want to quote the EU, it's not. It does. That shit don't matter no more. Stop it. Just stop it. I'm not doing homework. That was my one complaint. Oh, the witches are in the Clone Wars cartoon. Great. You know what? If I hadn't seen them in Ahsoka, maybe I'd bitch about that. But there are witches in Star Wars.
Right.
So.
And even if this was the first time we saw witches, so what? That's a new element. And, and I've seen people say how the show is unoriginal because they borrowed elements from different. It's like, have you never seen a Star Wars movie?
So, Thomas, that is a theory I actually do agree with, by the way. The dyad.
Yeah, a Force dyad. I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
And in fact, I like this idea that I saw. I can't remember who it was, but someone threw this out as a theory. Is that Plagueis gets a hold of these two girls in order to use their Force powers to create life in the same way that Palpatine was trying to do with Kylo and Rey.
I mean, theories are great. I don't want to talk about theories. I want to talk about.
Well, I'm just saying. I think that's an interesting idea.
It is, because there are a ton of theories out there that I don't want to speculate. That's why I wish they would just drop all the episodes. It's a 4-hour movie basically. You know.
And let's see. Okay, so this is another one. This is kind of funny. So a person whose name I'm not going to mention because I don't want to give them any free publicity says that, do we really need to dedicate an entire episode to the backstory of May and OSHA, something that probably could have been done in less than 5 minutes? All right, wait.
Oh, I
This
saw
same-
a girl say that online.
But this same person, I'm again not gonna show them off because I don't want to give them any free credit. But this same person also mentioned in the last few days how the only decent Star Wars to come out in recent times was Rogue One. Can you smell the irony there? An entire movie that is a backstory to one line of text.
Well, I like Rogue One, so I'm not gonna
Look, I'm well. So far, I didn't have a problem with this episode. Really,
I
didn't.
I didn't either. Actually, I mean, we watched
Right.
we watched it together. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
And so, do I think that we needed to flesh out what happened as far? Yeah, I knew they were going to do it eventually. They had to because there was so much talk about it in the first couple of episodes. So, yes, we needed to see what happened. We needed to see why May is so pissed off at the Jedi. And it seems to me like May is more intuitively connected to the dark side, while OSHA is more intuitively connected to the light side of the Force.
well, I think that's what makes them the dyad. Instead of having one like Anakin, you've got the yin and yang of the dark and the light with these twins.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think that, and that's why I think OSHA is very quick to defend the Jedi, saying that they're good. And of course, people going off about, oh, the dialogue's so bad because one girl says they're bad and the other girl says they're good. These are freaking 8-year-old girls. What do you expect them to say? Well, actually, I feel that they have a tendency to lean towards the negative. You know, no. A girl's going to say, I think they're bad. You know, that's... Wow. I mean, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? That, I mean... have you never been around kids? Sorry.
No, I mean, I'll look. I really was gonna do what Blaine's doing on Criticalist and kind of like, you know, rate each episode and then do a composite of my score as it goes on. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna review it and give it a score at the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't want to give it because that's the thing is that Discovery season 5 had, you know, I would have given some of the episodes some decent scores if I was rating episode by episode, but the series so screwed up the end that I'm just glad it's over. You know, and so this could do the same thing. This could take a massive turd by the end of this series, or it could be awesome. You know, it's hard to say at this point. But the fact that women are at the center of this story and that the showrunner happens to be a woman is not a negative or a net positive for the show. It's just a fact.
So, Stan, I'm actually going to...
We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, and my interesting take on it also. So we'll get there.
Yeah. All right, so we start out and we see this is the planet that May and OSHA grew up on, and this is a bunta tree, which, okay, I will nitpick this, even though you'll probably think this is stupid, and I didn't say anything about this when we were watching it. Is that in the Phantom Menace, not the Fandom Menace, but the Phantom Menace, the actual movie, the pod race was happening on Bunta's Eve.
Yes.
And this is a Bunta tree. Yes. So is Bunta's Eve a celebration of the Bunta tree, which is on a different planet?
That's a good question. I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, and so I've been scratching my head ever since they say this is a bunta. I was like, wait a minute, I thought bunta was like a holiday,
I thought it had something to do with the huts. So I don't know.
right? But apparently, no, it's a tree. It's a yellow weeping willow. So okay. And we see May playing with a space hummingbird. And like using the force to stop it in midair and talk to it and stuff. And then May strolls along and basically it looks like she's going to rip the wings off of it, but she stops her before she actually does that.
What I did pick up on right away, which we didn't mention last night, was this is the tree that the bunta poison was made from in the in the previous episode.
Yeah, and that's actually the first time because I thought about it when we watched episode 2, but I didn't mention it. Same thing. I was like, wait, so Bunta's Eve is a celebration of an extract that's a poison? This is the weirdest holiday ever. Could you imagine if, hey guys, it's time to celebrate Arsenic Eve?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, but hey, and so if people want to say bad writing is bad, that's fine. I just, that doesn't make any sense to me. However, and this is like I think one of the strongest indicators of where these two girls are coming from, because if you notice that Osha is using the Force to kind of be with nature and observe it and study it and gain knowledge, while May is using it to dominate it and what looked like she was about to try to destroy it until her sister yelled for her to stop. Hence my whole...
Well, May was probably going to kill the thing. Really.
That's why I said destroy it.
Yeah.
Killing is a form of destruction. I mean, last time I checked.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and here and just look at the look on her face. She's like, yeah. That's like the kid that's pulling the legs off of, mustard gas Eve. Yes, indeed. Time to celebrate, the season. And so we find out that they're about to go through some ritual ascension. And while May is really looking forward to it, Osha is having a lot of doubt that she's not convinced she wants to be a witch and commit herself to the coven. Now, of course, you think witches are awesome.
No, I'm just saying from this, look, we already know that there are going to be two other points of views. I'm just saying right now we're seeing
I have not heard any of that, so I'm not going on that assumption at all. I'm just basing it on what we see here.
Fair enough, but are we or are we not seeing the series of events mostly from Osha's point of view?
No, I don't think so. I think we see a lot of May's perspective here, because honestly, I think this episode is kind of, up until May starts the fire, I think Osha is being a little brat through most of this episode. And it comes across to me that Osha is the defiant one, Osha is the disobedient one, Osha is the one who is...
The rebellious is the word I used yesterday.
Right.
Rebellious.
And meanwhile, May is being the good girl. However, May is also straight up evil, as are the witches. But you don't seem to think the witches are evil, because...
I don't see any indication whatsoever from this episode that's fair to call them evil. From the perspective we got, I don't see that. I see that they even use terms like what others consider dark. You know what I mean? And she talks about this isn't about good and evil. This is about
right, which is
this is about the power of the thread or the Force and the Jedi wanting to control it. So I mean, from this point of view, it kind of
you got to stop with the point of view crap, because there is an objective right and wrong here. And I do think that if you look at the history of Star Wars, while the Jedi are not perfect, they are agents of good.
Stan, I think that she was under some kind of mind control.
You think May was under mind control? What would you?
I really do, because look, last time we saw May, she was taken away by Mother Coral, and then we see her again, and she's acting she's really acting like she's in a trance, like especially when she lights the book on fire. And there's
totally
no way.
I think she's just being a witch.
And there's no way that fire she started did all that other damage. I think in the next 2 episodes, because whether you've heard anything or not, this has already been stated. I've unfortunately, like I said, I didn't want any behind the scenes stuff, but I came across.
Well, then stop talking about behind the scenes stuff. I don't want to know.
Okay, all right.
I really, I don't want spoilers for what's coming, because I'm enjoying the show so far.
I'm not talking spoilers. I'm just saying we're going.
Yes, you are. You've already spoiled what the plot of at least 2 more episodes is going to be. I don't want to know about that, dude.
Okay.
No, stop.
I didn't watch interviews, Stan. I was watching a review where they were referencing articles where there were quotes.
Okay, but those articles that with quotes, I mean, how many articles have come out that have been completely just clickbait? Okay, so take it with a grain of frickin' salt. Because this shows what we need to know. We see why, for example, Torben would have regretted what happened. We see why Osho is so distraught. We see, I think that this episode shows us the backstory to the point where it brings us up to speed on why things are the way they are in the current time.
Yeah. And hey, Ariel, it's good to see you back. Good to see you back.
So this is another one of those things that people hate, is their little poetry that they say together about I give you you and you give me me and blah blah blah. Again, it's a witch nursery rhyme. It's like, if they were sitting there going Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, would you be critiquing that?
Father Abraham had many sons had Father Abraham, and I am one of them.
Yeah, this is not a Christian group.
Okay. Well, everybody's got. I was going to ask you this earlier. How many different words for God do we have? We've got God. We've got David. We've got Allah.
David. Who calls God David?
Isn't that what the Jews call God? No.
David,
son of David. Isn't that?
No, well, Jesus,
I'm not Jewish, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, the Jews don't. First of all, Jesus is descended from the house of David, but nobody calls David God.
Okay,
or nobody equates those 2 names.
My point is God, Allah, whatever. Everybody believes in, or not everybody, but
all
Allah
is just God in a different language.
What I'm saying is they call God by different higher. They call their higher power by different names. That's why the whole Force thread, that shit don't bother me either. It makes sense that they would super chat.
And Matthew with $1, you wouldn't get this, but Matthew, who believes that Harry Potter leads kids to worshiping Satan, says these girls obviously, wanted Harry Potter.
Again, Ariel, when I'm going to get into this, you guys are going to find my take interesting, I think.
Well, and I think that's a problem that started with the prequels. And we talked about this at length last night, and we'll talk about it some more tonight. As far as some of the problems, I think, with the lore of Star Wars after the original trilogy. And the Jedi taking little kids and training them is a big problem. And by the way, at least the Jedi in this were asking permission, because in the Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon was just like, yeah, we're taking Anakin. There was no asking permission. He was just going to take him. So that's the Jedi seem to be more polite back here. But my point is, these two 8-year-old girls are saying the equivalent of a nursery rhyme together, and people are making it out like, oh, look at this horrifically bad dialogue because two 8-year-old girls are acting like 8-year-old girls. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that part of it at all. The girls are, like you said, they're acting like children. Now here's Mother Coral, which is going to lead into the Criticless quiz question, trivia question for the day.
Oh, okay. What is the Criticless?
I got a lot of cool goodies I'll be sending you guys. In addition to some Criticless stickers, I got some cool buttons. I've got some cool 1979 top Star Trek trading cards and a bunch of other cool little goodies, some enamel pins, and then of course Criticless stickers. So the Criticless trivia question for the day, and you just put your answers in the chat, and whoever gets the first complete correct answer, I'm looking for at least 2 words here, will win this week's Criticless trivia contest. So this character right here, Mother Coral, what race is she? I'm looking for 2 words. One won't do it. What race is she?
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that.
I know you don't. I remember we talked about this yesterday.
We speculated about it yesterday.
Yeah. Well, don't give any clues, but that's the question. All right, continue.
So I see. So you looked it up, I presume.
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and Stanley says the race is Darth Maul. That is a person, not a race. But
you might be on the right track.
Yeah,
or you might not.
Yeah,
but I'll let you know when you get if anyone gets the answer correct.
Ghost Candle, says Thomas. I think that's the best answer ever.
Hey, Cinnabon. Feel like it's
Cinnabon. No, sorry. By the way, Cinnabon, you should love this one because we have Asian Kyle the Jedi in this one. So, Skanky
Ho, Mike Richards.
Wow, Mike.
That is
wow.
That is incorrect, sir. Incorrect. Although she is kind of a bitch.
Well, and that's what I said. She is it's kind of funny because her, I guess, wife or partner or whatever you want to call it is the leader of this coven, but she is definitely the stricter one.
She, to me, represents, she's more the dark side, and the other mother is more of the light. Although she does do that.
Now, if you look at the way they do the training, this is a dark side group.
Well, yeah, but this chick fully embraces.
The Coral is just more aggressive, and so, but for whatever reason, I can't remember the other mother's name. But the leader of the group is less aggressive, a little more permissive. And I think it's because, keep in mind that like the dark side of the Force is embracing your emotion. It's not just about aggressive emotion, it's emotion in general. That's why the Jedi can't have connection, and they don't, they try to be almost like Vulcans.
So this in itself is a clue. No, but you're not far off. But no. Anyway.
So I think that the primary mother is, she has.
Well, she's the mother of the coven. Notice how everybody calls her mother.
Right. But I'm saying, but as far as with the 2 girls, she has this outpouring of love for them.
Yeah.
And this overwhelming attachment to them. Whereas Coral is more embracing like her anger and hatred of the Jedi and stuff. So she's like, yeah, you 2 skanks need to get back. And then we catch a glimpse of Asian Kyle hiding behind a tree.
You know, I brought this up last night, Stanley. Were people bitching this much about Themyscira when Wonder Woman came out?
Yeah, they never defined the witch coven as being lesbian, only that these two women are in some kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And so what? That's
I don't think. I mean, you want a comparison? You know what beats this bullshit over the head is Discovery. Every time Stamets and Culber fucking make out, it made me sick to my stomach. Not because it was gay kissing, because it's just completely superfluous and unnecessary. They didn't do any of that in this episode. The closest thing we got to that was she touches the other one's chin.
Yeah, gently caress the cheek of the other, and it's like not, it's not like. And the Stamets Culver thing, like the thing that annoyed me about them was that every time they had to like zoom in on them so that we could make sure to show that they're kissing.
So this is not that. People are just I really, honestly, I'm starting to believe people are just looking for shit to bitch about at this point.
So let's see.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, Thomas.
So woke. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. And Ariel, you're right. That is second base, but that's.
And look, Mom, you're by the standards of the fandom menace, it's terrible writing on your part. Bad writing, Mother.
Yes,
Shame
yes.
on
You can't write like that because when you write. Like that, it's obviously you're a hack and woke and whatever. Yeah.
I forget the other mother, the main mother's name, but my mom. I think you would agree. My mom kind of is like that for the Nerd Fights community. She's everyone's mom. She's just actually literally mine.
But your mom is like snorting cocaine all the time.
Booger sugar, get it right. She calls it booger sugar.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's the difference. Like your mom was more like Blind Owl from the Deadpool movies. And yeah, Stan, I agree. Calling them lesbian space witches, especially since you're trying to say that as a derogatory,
Yeah, and look, and Darth, thanks. We're just going to be honest, whether it gets us a bunch of views or not. Look, I'm not saying this is a great show, far from it.
But it's not the trailer or the dumpster fire that people are making it out to be.
Yeah. And Darth Maul, did you hear the trivia question? Because you should know the answer to it. I feel like that's another clue, people. Anyway.
Yeah, like here, just here on X. This, and I'm quoting here, so pardon my French. There's a picture of what's her name, the showrunner for this show.
Ariel, I've been single and celibate over a year. I wouldn't even care at this point.
Danny. So there's a picture of the showrunner from the Acolyte, and this person posted on X, "This thick-necked bitch just ruined Star Wars for anyone who had a little bit of hope left."
See,
in the
I want to
franchise.
block people like that's just ignorant hate speech, man. That's
Right.
really all that is.
And it's like, why would you say something like that?
Let me say it again. He says he was late. He didn't hear the trivia question. So I'm looking for 2 words. What race is Mother Coral? 2 words.
The not black mother.
Yes, the one with horns. What's the race? 2 words.
Yeah.
Can't just give me one of them, because that's only half right. And digital, I just said 2 words, so you're only half right. Big time clue there, folks.
And there's a picture of her.
Yes, that is who we're referring to right there.
Yeah. So we do see the coven, their little village that they have inside of what seems to be like a volcano or something, based on the shape of it.
You are wrong, sir, and I am surprised you are wrong. Process of elimination. Do not say the correct answer, please, digital. but it is the other.
Well, if Digital said the correct answer, wouldn't
He
they-
didn't say the correct answer.
Yeah, but if he did now, wouldn't he win?
He says he doesn't want to win. So if he doesn't want to win, don't give it.
Oh,
But if you want to win, give it. But
yeah. So anyway, so we see their little coven is trying to basically live something of an isolationist lifestyle. They're and by the way, this is another thing that people are getting to red flag complaint line number 3 here. Kurogan kumquat. That
is
would
definitely not it.
no, but that is awesome. I like that.
I was
So-
thinking the same thing when they first said Mother Coral. I was like, Coral. I used to those Walking Dead viewing parties. Coral.
I never watched Walking Dead much, so I can't really.
There's a scene where Rick was yelling out for his son Carl, and he was saying it like Coral.
Oh, okay. So the line that a lot of people were bitching about that the mother says is the galaxy is not welcoming to women like us.
Ariel, you're dancing all over it. You're so close, honey. I can't answer that question though, but do with that what you will. It's kind of a clue.
And so people are trying to make it out like, oh, see, it's woke because she says women, and it's like they're a coven of women.
Again, Themyscira. Like
Yeah,
people-
exactly. I mean, it's like if if in the Wonder Woman movie, if Diana had said to Steve Trevor, the world is not ready to see an island of women like us, would all of a sudden everybody say, oh, it's all about the woman thing? No, it's because it's an island entirely of women, And so this is a coven that they're witches, and in Star Wars, every witch we've ever seen, as far as I know, in every form of media, has been a female. And so,
Well, I've only seen witches in Ahsoka. So
right, but there've also been witches in Clone Wars. I don't know if they've been in the books or not, but they've all been women.
like you said last night, this is when we really need Jason.
Right. And in fact, the witches that we've seen before, they were called something like Blood Sisters or something like that, or I don't remember, something sisters. And so and they're the ones that raised Darth Maul or whatever. But the thing is that, yeah, so if witches, at least in the context of Star Wars, I'm not talking about Wiccans in the real world here, we're talking about Star Wars witches. If Star Wars witches are always women, then for her to say the galaxy is not accepting of women like us, meaning a coven of witches, the Night Sisters, thank you, Ariel.
But that is not the answer to the question. But
Right.
yes.
Yeah, but that's who I was talking about as far as the witches in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But if all witches are women in Star Wars, then for her to refer to them as women is just common sense. It's and so it's not necessarily writing about the message or whatever. It's just common sense if we're dealing with a coven of witches. And I don't remember, at least not that I can think of, is there a male equivalent of the witches in Star Wars, but maybe it's just a female feminine gift,
I don't know, but we got 25 people watching us live right
Awesome.
now, and nobody has. I mean, Google it at this point. I mean, I'm shocked nobody's gotten the answer yet. This is crazy. But anyway,
so and then this is the oh so controversial scene, where they actually get close to each other. And
does he
it's
not realize the irony? Like his screen name, his profile photo, and then what he says here.
Yeah, that's Darth Maul. You should really consider a new name and a new avatar. If
Dawn must have got here late. Not that, the other one. Another clue. Anyway, there are two types of Zabrix. Not that one. The other one. There you go. Somebody should get it.
Right. So this shot here pissed off a lot of people because, oh my gosh, the lesbians are actually showing affection for each other.
They don't even kiss.
I
You
know.
wanna bitch
And
about
that's-
something,
that's-
watch Discovery. Good
Right.
Lord.
So Wookiee hut. I like that, ABJ. Could you imagine a half Wookiee, half hut? It'd be like this giant, furry, fat
God,
slug.
how would they even? How would you? It always blows my mind. How do you like? How does a Chihuahua and a Bulldog have a mix? I mean, that's just. I don't even want to picture a hut and a Wookiee.
You made T'Pring have a seizure there. And so then we get to a training ceremony, or not ceremony, but a training session, I guess you could say, where they start talking about the whole idea of, part of their mantra, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, which is another thing that a lot of people went off about. Now, look, I think the singing, the power of the one, power of two, power of many, was a little odd, but at the same time, they're a freaking coven cult group. Them chanting their mantra isn't really.
So he's missing one letter. Should I give it to him? He's just literally just
It's
missing one letter.
Brian, though. He's kind of a jerk. But yeah, I guess you could.
All right, it's Iridonian Zabrak. You were close enough. Brian, hit me up via email or on Twitter.
And his Twitter handle is right above his head there.
It's this one right here. DM me on Twitter or email me. You can get the email off my YouTube channel. But you won. Good job. Yay. Thank you, Criticless.
All right, so, and this is part of the reason that I say that this is definitely the Coven is a dark side group, because they, what is the most important thing to a Sith? Power. What is the most important thing to the Coven? Power. So for the Jedi, it's all about peace. But for these guys,
no, I don't think it's all about power.
No.
What she's saying, when you go back in the context, she's saying that the Jedi want to control the power. That's what this is about. They should not have the right to control that power. If we know how to use it, we should be allowed to use it as well, not just the Jedi. That's her point. At least that's what I took away.
She doesn't
from
say
it.
that. She says it's not about good or about evil. It's about power.
And then she says something right after that does convey that. Play that clip when you get to it, because she does.
I don't know exactly when she says
it's
that,
right.
but-
It's close, but okay. All right.
But it's something to the effect of it's not about good or about evil. It's about power and who gets to wield it or something like that.
Yes.
And the thing is that it's still their focus is not. I mean, think about this. If somebody is saying, I don't, like if you go to a church and the pastor of the church says, oh, it's not about, God or the devil. It's all about you. Are you going to say, oh, okay, so this is a good church? Or are you going to say, whoa, there's something wrong here? And by the way, worshiping yourself is Satanism. And so and basically it does boil down to, if you're not part of the light, like the Jedi, you are part of the darkness. And I think that these, and I understand you just like the witches or whatever, but the witches are evil.
I don't see that. They want to be left alone. They left the Republic. They found a small corner. They want to do their own thing and be left alone. I see them as being hunted, persecuted. The first words out of the Jedi's mouths to them is a lie. The very first words. When we get to that scene, the very first words.
I know what you're talking about, because Trinity was saying that what you're saying when she said they thought the planet was uninhabited.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Now,
that's a lie.
Well, here's the problem is that we don't have enough context there. We don't know exactly why the Jedi were there. We only know that they were there and then they were observing them. But when they first landed there, did they think it was an uninhabited planet? Because keep in mind, this is not Star Trek. They can't scan for life forms from orbit.
No, but they can sense other Force users. They found them.
Or they can sense a disturbance in the Force. You know, they might have been there because they sensed a disturbance in the Force, and it was these two girls, and they didn't realize it until they got to the planet.
Maybe we'll find out the answer to these questions.
Yeah, I hope we do, but I'm just saying. So I'm not going to assume it was a straight up lie. It might have just been like, yeah, we first came here, we didn't know the planet was inhabited.
This is another good point. I don't see the evil thing you're seeing, and I'm not the only one. You see Thomas's comment here?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Okay, so if the witches were, first of all, okay, you can make. I think the reason the witches allowed the girls to be tested was because they knew that they from a legal standpoint and everything, there was nothing they could do, and they certainly couldn't fight the Jedi Order. However, then what did they do? They immediately instructed the girls to lie.
Okay, when we get into the allegory I saw, we can talk about that a little bit more.
Right, but I think the allegory that you said, it kind of goes both ways, because I think that, well, we'll talk about that later. I won't spoil it right now. But in this little training montage, so she takes on, she has one of the other witches try to attack her using the Force, and she, of course, sends her back. And then she has two of them attack her at the same time, and she struggles a little bit, but pushes the two of them back and talks about how two together can fight stronger than one. And then they talk about the power of many, which is all of them.
Yeah. And Ariel, this is neither of those planets. I forget the name. Starts with a B. They showed it. This is a planet they fled to.
Yeah, this is a relatively unknown planet that the Jedi probably thought was uninhabited, and that they were trying to live on to train in secret. Because the other thing is that training these two little girls is illegal. And now you can argue as to whether or not that's a just law, but for whatever reason, training younglings as a witch is illegal. And Thomas says they weren't in Republic territory, though they had no authority. I disagree.
Exactly. Well, see, I agree with Thomas on that.
That's the thing, is Coral said that they're not a part of the Republic, but at the same time, the Mother Supreme, or whatever her name is, she acknowledged that, the Jedi, they were right. And so they weren't going to,
I don't think she was saying they were right. I think she was trying to avoid a conflict with them by acquiescing to their request. That's what I think. But that's, obviously not what you think. So that's fine.
Anyway, and here we have, again, the girls fighting, which they do a lot of. And Ariel, so you're saying Star Wars universe does not have scanning tech, even though they can scan other ships, and some of their droids even have sensors. No, I'm not saying they don't have scanning tech at all. I'm saying they can't scan a planet from orbit to see if there's anybody there. Their scanners are not as good as Federation scanners. And in fact, even like when you talk about droids, like when on Hoth, R2 was scanning for Luke and Luke and Han were just riding freaking, dinosaurs around. They weren't even on a speeder. And C-3PO said that, his scanning range was far too short to rule out their survival.
Okay, I got a thing here for Brian. I'm going to let you do it, but you and Professor Brainy Specs, you can't win again for another month because that was your second win. I just realized that when you emailed me. So, but good job.
Brian just wants all your stuff. And so
Tiffany, hi, thanks for joining.
Hey, Tiffany, how you doing? Yeah. And so I just, like I said, I I'm trying to, and maybe it's part of me is because I'm old school Star Wars. I saw Star Wars, 1977 in theaters at least a dozen times. And I've been a fan of Star Wars, particularly the original way it was presented, which is that it's a clear cut good versus evil. The Jedi are good, the Sith are evil. And in this case, witches are also like on the dark side of the spectrum.
I know you give me grief for saying stop saying point of view or whatever, but no
I don't
bad
wanna-
guy. Hold up, no bad guy thinks they're the bad guy. They think they're the hero of their story. You know, what I
Right.
mean?
So of course the witches think that they're not bad, but they are.
Okay, I think the jury's still out.
Well, they're apparently
Doesn't
the
really
jury's
matter
dead
because they're dead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, because especially if you consider that May is the good, obedient, enthusiastic, I want to be a witch kid, and she kills everybody.
I don't think she does. I think we'll find out later that I don't think that little fire spread like that. I think something happened. They even show that reactor thingy blowing up. And Brian, Star Trek V, we see a commode. So anyway,
Yes, we do see Kirk sitting on the crapper in Star Trek V. That is a real thing.
Yeah.
A little bit of Photoshop work, and you could really make that scene pop, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So then we get a look at it's so funny. Like, they live in a giant stone fortress.
Look at that. That's the thing I'm talking about.
Yes, I know. That's their power reactor or
Yeah.
whatever.
That blows up. That little fire didn't do that. Something else happened we haven't seen yet.
I think that's wishful thinking. I think it was just the fire.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
So, and this is okay, girls, make up now, make nice. And the girls are like, all right.
Tell your sister you love her.
But yeah, I mean, like, if you look at this, all the exterior shots of their home, it looks like it's in a volcano. So like there's a crater in the middle of this. So I'm just saying, I think that it's entirely possible that the flames from Maine's fire just spread out of control. So we see May and Osha getting their hair done. Again, people that were complaining last week about, oh my gosh, why is their hair the same? And it's like, well, maybe because it's a traditional style. Especially considering it's a very similar style to their mom's hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, see, like right there, look, tell me that doesn't look like a volcano.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, one of the reviews I watched.
I don't know. Look at that. That's freaking a volcano. It's a mountain with a hole in the middle.
Well, all the light emanating is artificial light.
Right, but it's still obviously that's a natural formation in the mountain as far as the shape of it.
Yeah.
And those walls were just built up there. I mean, unless for some reason the witches just felt like digging a giant hole in the side of a mountain.
No, Ariel's got a good point. It could have been. It could just be a completely dormant volcano,
So this is where we get the witches singing their lovely tune about the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
With some weirdo yodeling in the background every couple of minutes. That was weird.
Yeah. It was weird, though, but this is, so they're going to do the ascension. They bring the girls up, and they're basically, I'm assuming from the way they described it, the ascension is just a ceremony where they're officially considered a part of the coven now.
I think it's kind of like a bar mitzvah, or you know, it's their ascension into womanhood, or what? That's not a bar mitzvah. That's boys.
Bat mitzvah.
A bat mitzvah. Yeah.
And so they have to take like a little oath that says that you will, that when mom dies, that the girls will follow in her footsteps and defend the coven, blah, blah, blah. May eagerly accepts, and Osha is about to accept when all of a sudden the Jedi show up. And and then we get a de-aged version of our Jedi from before. And so we have Saul, Trinity, Knucklehead, and Wookiee Boy. And Knucklehead now is a Padawan at this point.
Yes.
So he went from Padawan to just catatonic Jedi, I guess. So yeah, they show up. You got pissed off because she said that the Trinity said that they didn't know the planet was inhabited.
There's a lot about these Jedi that I don't like. I don't like that they're liars. I don't like the invasive use of their mind probes, but yet they don't use it when it would make sense to use it.
Well, that's a problem throughout Star Wars, though. The Jedi, I mean, like, if you want to accuse as well, if you're saying the Jedi should be 100% honest, because they should have like something like a Christian moral code, okay, but that was never the case. I mean, even in the original Star Wars, Obi-Wan lied to the stormtroopers.
Right, so they're just peeling back the layers, showing that there is no black and white.
They're not. You see, but that's not freaking Star Wars. That's the problem.
You just said they've always been doing that in Star Wars. Anyway.
No, I'm saying that it's not like Obi-Wan never lied, right? And so, like, when these aren't the droids you're looking for. Obviously, that was a lie. Mm-hmm. And in fact, and Obi-Wan even offered to sell the stormtroopers the droids to try and show how earnest he was. But so I don't think that the Jedi are supposed to be messianic, perfect Christ figures. I think that they're supposed to be the good guys with superpowers.
Supposed to be. Maybe they're not.
But you see, that's ruining that's it more than anything else. Another funny thing, a lot of the people that are bitching about the retconning and stuff in this show, I've heard time and time again, these same people talking about the only good thing recently is Andor. And Andor completely craps all over the lore. Andor basically makes it very plain that the Empire did nothing wrong. And hey, Novanix? That sounds like an explosive nasal spray. Try to Novanix, it burns. But I think that when you take Star Wars away from the black hat, white hat, good and evil thing, that's what's ruining it. It's not, oh my gosh, there's not enough white men in it, or oh no, there's too many women, or oh no, there's lesbians. It's the fact that it's not just plain old good versus evil, which takes the fun out of it. I'm not interested in watching two teams who I don't even know who's the good guys and who's the bad guys fight. I don't care about that because I don't have anyone to root for. And I want to root for the guys with the cool glowing laser swords.
Nobody's perfect.
What's that got to do with it? I didn't say they had to be perfect.
You can't be all like, that's what I'm saying. We argued about this last night. Only Siths deal in absolutes.
Will you please stop using that cheesy line?
Okay.
Because that's not the point. The point, because I'm not talking about being realistic. Because you know what? If you want to be realistic, then watch frickin' The Last Jedi, because that's realism for you.
Yeah.
Where Luke is a broken, busted old man who gave up on everything because he had some setbacks. That's realistic. And guess what? Everybody hated it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things we hate, it's about that time. We're in the halfway point of the show, and I tell you what I hate are critics. That's why I like Critic-less. So let's take a second to check out this message from the show sponsor.
Hello, Blaine Andrews here, local business owner and critic enthusiast. Are these critics constantly clickety-clanking around on their keyboard? Are their terrible reviews driving you crazy? Is your critic clawing away at the very fabrics of society with their terrible opinions? Think there's no answer? You're so stupid. There is! Critic Mittens. Finally, there's an elegant, comfortable mitten for critics. I didn't hear a thing. Is your critic one-armed or have fat sausage fingers, a skinny bird-like physique, or just no fingers at all? That doesn't matter because one size fits all. Critic Mittens, you'll be smitten. So come on down to criticless.com. We're the home of the original Critic Mittens. And how? Download on Android, Apple, or maybe just visit the interwebs today because it's an app. You download it because it's an app. But
And that is our message from
You
today's
stopped it early.
sponsor. No, I didn't.
I thought you did.
Not at all.
You know, I'm still mad at Blaine about that one, though. He needs to actually create critic mittens that you can buy. The fact that he has that and doesn't have critic mittens is an insult. So the and yeah, I do like the gay chipmunks from the other commercial there, Mike. I agree. Or the what is the cannibalistic? Oh gosh, what was it? A commune of cannibalistic something. I can't remember.
That's the Thursday commercial. You guys can see that one tomorrow. Yeah.
Anyway,
Check us out on criticless.com. Join our Nerd Fights group. Join us in the water cooler to talk about movies and TV shows. It's a lot of fun.
yeah.
Back
So-
to our regularly scheduled.
Yeah, so I think that this is the thing that's worse for Star Wars. It's not about the DEI or any of that crap. It's about taking good and evil out of the story and making the Force. And in fact, they even hinted at it a little bit in this, where she said that the Force was an impersonal force. Well, no, that's not what the Force is supposed to be. Like Qui-Gon referred to the Force as the living Force. And in the original trilogy, the Force was clearly an allegory for the supernatural realm, the God, Satan, that kind of thing.
That's not how the Force works.
Right. It's not just some blind it's not like electromagnetism that you can tap into, you know. And yeah, the midichlorians. Oh, goodness. That's So the Jedi offer to they want to test the girls and potentially train them. And of course, the Coral is opposed to this, but the main mom is kind of okay with it.
I think she
And-
was just being pragmatic. I think
Well,
she doesn't
I
want to fight.
agree. I think that she was being pragmatic because she knew that from a legal standpoint, they didn't have a leg to stand on, and from a practical standpoint, the witches, while they might be able to overpower the 4 Jedi that are there now, they're not going to be able to take on the Jedi Order. Especially since we do find out later when Osha is talking to Asian Kyle that that there are thousands of Jedi at this point. So there, this one coven of witches, looks like there couldn't be more than 100 of them or so, would have no chance against the Jedi. And so, now, let's get into your thing a little bit, because
this is where it starts when
So basically, Black Mom, main mom, whatever you want to call her, the Reverend Mother or whatever, basically decides that whatever Osha and May want to do is okay. That the girls can make up their own minds about this.
We're talking about 8-year-old children making life-altering decisions.
Right. Now, what I will say, so like, if we compare this and contrast it to, and I mentioned it earlier, Qui-Gon in the Phantom Menace, he doesn't give Anakin a choice. He doesn't say, "Hey, Anakin, how'd you like to go with me?"
Aggressively relaxing. Thank you for joining us. You're about to get a take. I guarantee you're not going to hear anywhere else.
So yeah, so when Qui-Gon talked about Anakin, Anakin was just like, he's talking about Anakin's skills.
Damn it, creep! Way to bury the lead for me.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And Mom Shmi Skywalker says, "So is he to be trained as a Jedi?" And Qui-Gon just says, "Yes." Anakin is never made part of the decision.
Yeah.
Anakin is simply, Qui-Gon's like, "Yep, I'm taking Anakin," and Shmi is like, "Okay, good luck."
I actually am cool with that, because you don't let children make life-altering decisions. Parents make those decisions for their children.
Right.
So let me get into my allegory, since
the unintentional allegory.
It is. I believe it's very unintentional, because it kind of goes against what the showrunners believe in. So I feel like, as we were watching this and this part happens, I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, because I saw it as clear as day. So let's say you're raising your children. So a friend of ours, Alex, the salty nerd, he homeschools his kids because of stuff like this. So when you start introducing adult concepts and ideas to children, especially prepubescent children who are not only not done forming physically, but more importantly, mentally, the ability to make life-altering decisions, that is terrible. It's borderline abuse. And to me, I saw this as a direct allegory to transgender children. Now, I have I just need to preface this with this.
We're not talking about transgender adults. Make that clear.
I have no problem with transgender adults. If you are an adult and you have made the decision that, you've lived your whole life as a man or a woman, and you believe in your heart God made a mistake, which is, I don't even want to get into that part of the conversation, in that you're really the other. Like, I'm a man, born a man biologically, but when I'm an adult, I feel like, I really feel more like a woman, and I want to identify as a woman. More power to you. Pick your lane, stay in it.
Hey, Thomas, you should clip that, because out of context, that
it does sound bad. But however, where I have always had a problem is when you start introducing this concept to children who don't know what the fuck they are yet, because they're children. They haven't developed physically. They haven't developed mentally. There is no way they are ready to make such a life-altering decision that young. So when Saul is talking to her, and let's say I'm coming from the point of view of the mothers here. This is our child. We want to raise this child our way, and they should have every right to do that without you meddling Jedi coming here and trying to introduce this different way of life that we are opposed to, just morally, fundamentally, opposed to this. This is anti the values we want to instill in our children. However, after we're done raising them and they become adults, if they want to make a life altering decision, then more power to them. But right now, don't come in here and tell my little girl it's okay for her to be a man and she can start identifying as a man right now before she's formed fully physically and mentally. And I saw a direct allegory for that here.
Especially since later on she abandons the Jedi Order.
Thank you. Especially because when Osha gets older, she decides, you know what, I was wrong. I don't want to be a Jedi.
Right.
Which often happens when children make that type of decision about, you know what, I'm an 8-year-old boy, I want to be a girl, and then they grow out of it. They're still trying to figure out who they are.
Right.
And I don't know. I saw it plain as day. It was like yelling at me, and I couldn't unsee it after I saw it. And I would be interested in people's take on that in the chat.
And I think that that is unintentional. And this is kind of the funny thing. It's kind of like when you end up with characters in Star Trek like Captain Jellicoe and what's the name of the captain from Picard season 3 that we liked?
Picard season 3?
Yeah, the captain that died.
Oh, damn it.
But you know what I'm saying.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the guy with the beard. Yeah.
So they create these characters intending them to be the bad guy. But in actuality, the fans love them because they actually wrote them a little better than they should have.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that this allegory works a little too well because it kind of rings true. Because this would be the equivalent, like if this coven was, let's just say, a conservative Christian family, and the government shows up and says, oh, no, we want to put them into a liberal studies system because, you know, we think that your conservative Christian ideas are wrong.
Yeah.
Or
we think your children should live a more secular lifestyle, not a devout Christian lifestyle.
Right. Or the very opposite, if we were in a theocracy and you were trying to raise your children as atheists and the state steps in and says, no, you need to bring your kids up in the church. And so either way, right, that's something that is not the government's place to do. That
Captain Shaw.
Liam Shaw, yeah. All that being said, I think that especially, you know, because the moms obviously know these girls better than anybody else. And knowing these two girls, when the Jedi do show up, now the conversation should have just been between the Jedi and the adult witches. Right.
Yes.
And in that conversation, Queen Mother, whatever, Superior, basically understanding your daughters the way she does, should have said something to the effect of, well, Osha can go with you, but May stays with us.
If she really felt that way, I think,
right.
Again, she was being pragmatic. And Stan, you're just kind of proving my point. The Jedi should
The girls shouldn't be making the choice. That's the point.
Yeah.
They should have the discussion with the witches, not with the girls. Just like, and that's why I was saying, like, and Danny agreed with me. Qui-Gon's conversation with Shmi was okay because Qui-Gon saw the gift in Anakin, went to Shmi and said, "This boy needs to be trained as a Jedi," and Shmi's like, "I'm good with that."
Exactly. That's how it should be.
Right. It shouldn't be, "Hey, Anakin, you want to come with us?" And let Anakin make his decision on that, because Anakin, just like these girls, is too dang young to make that kind of. Imagine, I mean, look, I don't know how many of you have kids out there, but I've raised 2 of them, and imagine if you go to an 8-year-old kid and say, "Okay, here's the deal. You can go to MIT with a full scholarship and you have to major in electrical engineering. Yes or no?" And the kid has to make that kind of a decision. They don't even know what electrical engineering means, right? And that's the level of decision, trying to take the sexual stuff out of it. That's the level of decision making we're talking about, something that's going to affect them for the rest of their lives. that they don't have the maturity level to understand. And however, if the Jedi had an intelligent conversation with the mothers, and in fact, I think that if they had sat down rather than kind of confronted each other the way they did, and yes, we are talking spoilers, Joseph.
We're kind of going on a little side quest right now because when I watched this, I saw an allegory to
but yeah, if the Jedi, if the 4 Jedi had sat down with the moms and maybe a couple other witches from the coven, and they said, "Look, we sense the gift in these girls. We want to test them. We want to train them as a Jedi, and keeping in mind that May has been nothing but enthusiastic about being a witch, and Osha has not." And in fact, Osha has specifically said she doesn't want to be a witch. And so at that point, Mom should have said, you know what? You can take Osha. But May is born to be a witch. She's staying with us. And that would be a more interesting dynamic than what they had. Now, as far as what happens with the actual episode and May starting the fire and all that, that's May going off the frickin' rails, which honestly just proves the point that these kids are way too immature.
Super chat.
And thank you so much, KGB, saying, teaching your children religion is against the law. We are taking them to Moscow to make them communists, Salty. Okay, it's the law. Take my kids. I didn't say that.
That's not what we're saying. In fact, what he's saying is if they would have treated it the same way Qui-Gon did with Shmi, and the adults in the room had a conversation and they agreed, look, you know what? I think the best decision for May is to stay here. She's shown a predilection for, wanting to do this, and that's what we want for her. Our other daughter, on the other hand, she's not made for this. She keeps running off. She's always expressed an interest in leaving.
And she seems more focused on the light side of the Force, which is not their deal.
Yeah. So you know what? You can take, I would have had, and I would have never saw the allegory that, to me, this just was like, oh my God, why are you letting children make life-altering decisions?
Right.
So maybe I'm, again.
And again, I think it's one of those things where it's accidentally good writing, because ultimately what happens is tragic for the girls, but it's because they let the girls decide.
Yeah.
So we see the consequence of this. I don't think that was the intent of the writers. I don't.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
It's antithetical to what they actually believe.
Right.
And aggressively relaxing. And that's why I say what I say about the Jedi. It was a false choice, but it was still one they shouldn't. I don't think they should have even had May take the test. To be honest with you, I think when Saul
May should not have taken the test.
And
only
in this conversation, sadly, this is something I've kind of said to my 2 youngest children's mother at some point, at various times in our lives. This is not a conversation to be had in front of the kids.
Right. And Ariel, yes, conflict is the center of drama, but guess what? A big chunk of this episode, if we had whittled out some of the filler and stuff, we brought the Jedi situation in earlier, and the conflict in this episode could have actually been between Coral and Mother Superior, because of the fact that Coral thinks that the Jedi are this horrific organization, and maybe Mother Superior sees that the Jedi aren't all bad, they're just ideologically opposed to them.
Look, is it wrong to raise your children Christian and then when they're older, let them make their own decision? Because it's very similar to that. It's like, hey, maybe that's a better... my head jumped to the trans thing probably because of who makes the show, but the Christian allegory is a good one as well. It's like,
I think what was intended was that the Jedi were supposed to represent Christianity and show that, oh yeah, the church is just trying to come and indoctrinate your kids. But in actuality, both sides were trying to convince the girls to choose them. And
you don't oh, this is something that makes me
And,
infuriates me.
parents
That's
need to be
shitty
parents.
parenting. Yeah, parents make the decision for their children, good or bad, whatever it is. It's the parents' responsibility to raise their children the way they see fit.
Right.
And this is how, you know. So anyway,
And I don't think for a minute that am I saying that, every parent makes the correct decision? Of course not. But the parents' rights to make those decisions for their kids ends on their 18th birthday.
And Brian, I'm agreeing with all of these comments you've been putting out. That's why I may not address them all, but I am putting them on the screen. I do want to address this. I agree with you. I should not be talking about transgender children's rights or Christianity versus, Satanism or Muslim faith or Judaism or whatever. I should be talking about pew pew space fantasy bullshit. Not this.
It's supposed to be Lord of the Rings in space. Not this. This isn't Star Trek where it's about social commentary.
Yeah, but that's what they've been. That's what Disney's been doing. But I do find it fascinating because it almost reminds me of when in the Planet of the Apes movie with Marky Mark, where they tricked Charlton Heston into giving an anti-gun speech. I think these idiots don't realize in the writing, they're almost sending a message antithetical to what they actually believe and what they want their messaging to be, which is why these R words should keep messaging and politics out of our entertainment. Damn it. So I'm agreeing with you, Brian.
And I've said, look, I don't mind if you want to have a little bit of messaging in your story, but the messaging shouldn't come before the story. That's the important thing is this a Star Wars adventure? And then we can talk about what kind of allegory you want to throw on top of that.
And in Stan, they weren't. I saw it more like almost like if we don't like the bat mitzvah example.
I think bat mitzvah is actually
I do too, but baptism. They weren't. They were already being raised this way. This was almost like a baptism or a bat mitzvah.
Yeah, these two girls understood the witching way, right? And May was all on board. Osha didn't like it so much, and so it would be like say you're a Christian family and you have
we avoid spoilers beyond what we've seen. We are only talking about episode 3 today.
Yeah,
Joseph. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but we are spoiling the crap out of episode 3. So if you haven't seen episode 3 and you want to see it without having something spoiled, you can come back and watch this live stream after the fact, but don't watch it now because we are going to talk about every detail. We just happened to hit a pause here because we're about halfway through the episode and this subject came up.
Yeah.
And so I do think that this is... it's unfortunate, but it's also well put together in that it ultimately causes tragedy.
Yeah.
And,
like you pointed out earlier, when the girl grows up, damn, I didn't want to be a Jedi anyway.
Yeah.
Bad parenting right there. If the parents would have just handled this shit to begin with the way they're supposed to. But you know what? Whatever. Who am I to say that? I'm a recovering alcoholic, 100 days as of today. So whatever.
And so, then they consent for the girls to be tested. And
how irresponsible was that? Let me give what if she'd have cut it on like
a deadly weapon?
Yeah, like Luke, what was the first thing Luke did? He turned it on when Obi-Wan gave it to him. What if she
I was actually expecting her to turn the thing on and but fortunately, for everybody else in the room, she didn't.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you.
So then we get, and this is where I think that, if you want to try to argue the witches aren't anything but Darksiders, I'm sorry. They set up the ultimate deception here, because they know that the girls have the gift. This is the
scene where she makes the comment about it's not about good and evil, it's about power.
But she's also saying, look, they know that these two girls have the gift. They know they're going to pass the test. And so what's the solution? Lie and deceive the Jedi.
Well, the old lady is the one that says that.
Fail the test on purpose.
And Thomas, Osha clearly states that leaving the Jedi Order was her decision. She didn't fail. her trials or anything. She decided to leave.
And in fact, one thing that's interesting is that you'll notice, especially in the previous episodes, every time we see Asian Kyle Squid Game's Master Jedi, he refers to Osha as a former Jedi, not a former Padawan.
Yeah.
So, which I do think that's interesting. So it would seem like she did pass the trials. Although she obviously knew Yord, and when she left, Yord had not yet passed the trials because she made a joke about how she never thought he would pass the trials.
Yeah.
So they go to take the test, and of course, yes, Wookiees are always welding.
Seems like it. Yeah, they're always working on shit.
Yeah, that's what Wookiees do. That's all they're good for, is brute force, mechanical duty, and fighting. That's all they're good for.
He said duty.
So they do the same test they did with Anakin.
They even just took blood. You skipped over that. They took her
He
blood
does a
for the-
midichlorian. I am glad they didn't actually say the word midichlorian.
Yeah.
But although I was almost wanting to hear what their midichlorian count was. Because if I remember correctly, Anakin was like over 20,000, which was like the highest number that they've ever seen.
Right.
So I was kind of curious to see where they were at.
It would make sense if theirs was split, not evenly, but somewhat split.
Yeah, but like let's say they each had 15,000.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
neither of them was as powerful as Anakin, but together they were. Yeah. And that's where you get to that power of one, power of two thing.
Yeah.
So they give her the same test that they gave to Anakin. Now, we saw in Phantom Menace that Anakin just they say name whatever's on the screen, and Anakin got it 100% right because that's a sign of the gift. And she was purposely getting them all wrong. But Saul, and this was actually a clever move, was cleverly saying, oh, yeah, you got that right. And so she'd say, wait a minute, that's not a mountain. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
So basically they got it out of her that they were instructed to lie. Mm-hmm. Which I kind of like that scene. I like that. She was trying to honor her moms, even though she didn't like the idea.
And Stan, he does kind of look like Harry in the Hendersons, except he's got a shaved.
I tell you blur that and it's Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, we did that last week.
Yes,
so,
it's that is just Bigfoot right there. And so, they want to take Osha.
Well, this is where this you kind of skip over it. So this is where Mother Coral takes away May for getting mad at Osha for telling the truth, and then so she takes May away, and then these two have a conversation where. She's like, I want to be a Jedi. And Mom's like, well, that means you'll never see me again. And she's like, I know. And then it seems like the mom is like, well, okay, then you can do this.
Right.
And this is where I think something happens that kind of with the other mother. I think she manipulates, because the next time we see May, she wants to kill her sister. I think something happens here that we're going to see later.
Well, obviously, you can see that May takes after Coral and Osha takes after Mother Superior here.
Yes.
And as far as their attitudes. And so I think Mother Superior would be, and that's probably also why Mother Superior wanted to get along with the Jedi.
Hey, Socks, welcome. And we talked a little bit about that earlier. I don't think it goes against that.
Yeah, there's nothing. Okay, so as far as the prophecy for the creation of Anakin, first of all, that has nothing to do with this. And even if Mother Superior here used the Force to create the twins, that is not a retcon of anything, and that doesn't get in the way of anything. Because nowhere in the speeches by Palpatine does he say that Plagueis is the only person in history that's ever been able to create life using the Force.
Yeah, they never said that. They just said
Yeah.
and Stan, I could be wrong. It's just my guess right now.
I don't, but we'll see what happens. Because the thing is that May is still awfully evil, 16 years later.
I mean, you heard me cussing at her in that first episode when I didn't know it was two people. So I was like, "You evil bitch! Oh my god, I hate you!" I was like,
May is straight up evil 16 years from now.
Yeah.
And so if she was simply possessed, then I think she would feel guilty more than she would feel vindictive.
Well, she's not 100% evil. She does let the bartender and his kid go when a straight up Sith would have killed him,
Well, she's not a Sith, though.
Right. So I don't think she's 100% evil. I've tried. I've made it an hour and a half. I got to take my pee break. I'll be right back. You keep talking to the fine folks here in the chat.
So here's where we get the fire, because May decides that she says if you're going to go with the Jedi, I'm going to kill you, and so she gets this lamp, and you see it's like it looks like it's like a.
Look at her face. See, damn it, I wanted you to talk to the chat. I heard it and I had to run back. Look at it. She kind of seems like she's in a trance to me. Anyway, I'll be back.
She's looking at flame. That's how kids look at fire. And Stan says electricity, oil. Well, it seems like the lower part of it has got some kind of energy plasma in it. I mean, come on, it's Star Wars. Everything's got to be, space tech. Which is fine, but that would also explain, like, if that is some kind of high energy plasma, then it would burn a whole lot more than, say, oil or, wax or something. And that could explain why the fire gets out of control so quickly. And it is interesting, like, she has a tear running down her face because she knows she's about to murder her sister, which is kind of jacked up. So she burns her sister's book first. And look how quickly, like, whatever this stuff is, it ignites things fast because that book just lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. I don't think it's Beverly's candle. It's not quite that hot. Oh, and Stan Lee even says that, yes. Meanwhile, OSHA's trying to get out, trying to find where she actually drops the thing. So yeah, it just goes from her holding it to this shot. So now some people were saying, oh, wait, how did this whole doorway and everything made out of stone catch on fire? First of all, we don't know that it's made out of stone.
It could be like a sulfur type of material. It could be some kind of rock that is flammable. I mean,
right. And there are flammable materials other than wood.
Yeah.
And but if you look at the walls do look like they're wood. And now they could also be like carved stone walls, but either way, if this lamp is some kind of plasma burning lamp, it could burn so high that it reaches whatever the flame point is for this material. So I really don't, people that are trying to say it shouldn't be burning, I think are people that are just looking for things to
that,
pick
and
on.
I am still of the opinion we haven't seen the full story yet. I do not think this causes the reactor thing to explode. I think that's a separate thing.
We see that.
Let me go in. So let me expand on that. Okay, this is so. Earlier, I'm saying when Coral takes May away, and I think in the whole trance thing, I actually think Coral, because we don't see her dead body, we see the other mother's dead body. I think, and she was staring at the reactor earlier on that scene you actually paused it on. I think she got May to do this small fire. That way, the whole fire that she planned on doing to blow up the reactor. Why
would she kill the whole coven? That doesn't even make sense.
Because they don't listen to me. They only listen to the other lady. I'm right. They're wrong. I actually wouldn't be surprised if she ended up being that lightsaber wielding puppet master from the first episode, at the end of the first episode.
Oh, it wouldn't be the first time Star Wars used a male voice to throw people off.
Yeah. So but this is all just speculation on my part, though, folks. I mean, I could be totally wrong, probably am.
Right. Now, if you look at this shot, so this is on the other side of that doorway. It looks like over on the side there, the lower half of the wall is wood and the upper half is stone. Like it's wood inlaid on stone.
Maybe. I think it's more likely it's some type of mineral.
Look at the part that's burning. That looks like a wood beam right there going up.
That does look like a wood beam. I will say that. Yeah.
And then you could hear and see sparks coming from the electrical systems that are also overloading and stuff due to the plasma fire. I mean, yeah, things are getting kind of ugly very quickly.
And here's another reason. When she goes in here, hopefully you pause it. A little bit more. Well, she looks up right there. She can hear everybody screaming, but when we see their dead bodies, they're not burnt to crisp. Something else is happening right now we're not seeing.
I mean, you could be right, but who knows when we'll get the reveal on that.
Yeah.
And then this is the other part that everybody was complaining about because the two girls are separated, and she says, May, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? And
so they're both exactly and I think this feeds into my theory a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Because she's like, all I did was set your book on fire, and then I ran off. And you get mad and kill everybody in the family from May's point of view, and from from Osha's point of view, you just killed everybody. You set the whole place on fire. So this part makes sense to me still.
Well, maybe if you're right that they're going to do a he said, she said kind of thing where we're going to get different perspectives later on. Maybe we'll see whatever happened to the rest of the witches and how everybody died and all that. But, hopefully we'll see something. But then May takes a tumble into the cavern below, but Saul catches Osha before she goes down.
I actually like that channel, All Fires. I didn't see this video you're talking about, Socks. So I might check that out after we're finished.
Everything Always?
Yeah. I usually watch his Marvel stuff. I didn't realize he was covering this, so I didn't see it.
And so he pulls her up, and of course we know that at this, so here's where we see the witches.
None of them are burnt. They're just dead,
Yeah, but even then, what could have killed them like that?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. Hopefully, I feel like we're going to get that answer, in the next episode or two.
Right.
Yeah.
There is debris lying about.
So Stan, he's also 16 years later. He's a more powerful Jedi.
Yeah, keep in mind this is 16 years ago. He's not a Jedi master at this point. The only master among this group is Trinity.
Is Zadora, yeah.
Yeah. So, but even so, like he, when he grabbed her, he was closer to her than he was this girl.
Super chat.
That Torben guy's face looks injured at the end, but we only see Kyle going in to rescue the girls. Torben was in the ship.
I was actually going to point that out because we didn't talk about that last
Probably
night.
a deleted scene or something.
I think that's going to be part of.
Or you
what
think
we
it's going to be
missed.
part of the reveal?
Because when we get to the ship later, I was going to ask you to pause on it because he does have the scar on his face.
Yeah, I didn't notice that myself.
Yeah.
All right, so then we get back to the ship.
It's coming right up, actually.
Right.
Here in a second, when they show the others, right there. Look at his face. Do you see it?
Yeah, you can kind of see it there.
Yeah. So something happened. And May is convinced the Jedi killed her people. Maybe a fight with the Jedi broke out. And we haven't got the whole story yet.
Yeah, like maybe the Jedi did do some damage. Or, it's really hard to know. Yeah. We do know that the Jedi are keeping something a secret.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Saul is in on it. I think he was too busy saving Osha that he wasn't a part of whatever fight happened that obviously scarred the Padawan, whatever his name is. I can't remember his name.
Right, Torben.
No, is it Torben?
Torben is the Padawan. Yeah.
Okay.
And who then goes Rip Van Winkle. And
Yes.
but yeah, so and again, this so I think that as far as the whole lesbian thing and all that, blown way out of proportion by a lot of people who are just looking to hate on the show. I thought this episode was a decent episode. I didn't think it was as good. I think episode 1 is still the best episode so far.
I agree.
And, it's elevated by the Trinity fight. Let's be real. That was that was freaking epic.
Yeah.
I did really like the fight with Saul in episode 2, but the Trinity and Saul actually showed a degree of skill even better than Trinity. But the Trinity fight was just better choreographed.
Oh yeah. And what did I say at the end of this episode? Do you remember?
Something about how you were a lesbian.
No, it does what TV's supposed to do.
Oh yeah, make you want to watch the next episode.
I really want to see the next. I wish they'd have dropped. This is something I would have totally binged. I wish they'd have dropped.
But that's still, I just don't like the fact that these seasons are so short. I would probably, this story so far, the setup for this, I think would make a great 20 episode arc, but we're only going to get 8-10 episodes, whatever.
Eight, roughly 30 minutes. It's roughly a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
Not everything always emergency awesome. Not sure if
I've seen Emergency Awesome.
You have? Okay. I'm more familiar with Everything Always because All Fires is a musician. He also mostly covers Marvel stuff. So,
but I haven't watched any breakdowns of this episode yet. I did see Dave Cullen's review of this episode, which
he didn't even watch the episode.
In his review of this episode, he said he didn't watch this episode. That's how bad it's getting. In that he goes off on the same woke talking points that everybody else goes off on about this episode, most of which are exaggerated at best. And then he even says he only watched episode 1.
Yeah. And Thomas, we talked about this last night because
we know Disney's bankrupt. We know.
On supportsalty.com where we did yesterday, not only did we watch this, we watched Godzilla -1, which we're going to be reviewing tomorrow.
Spoiler alert, Danny hated it.
Spoiler alert, I loved it. That movie cost less than 1 episode of this show.
Right.
And it was ridiculously, it was over half less.
Right.
Yeah.
And so no, it wasn't that much. Like we figured the cost of this show is like $22 million per episode. Godzilla was 15.
Okay. So okay.
But but
3/4 anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, unless this 8-part miniseries ends with the most epic battle of epicness, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying, like when we were watching Godzilla -1, I talked about it's Hollywood bloat, and it's the fact that Hollywood will spend an extra $50 million to tweak visual effects that didn't need to be tweaked. And so, but in Japanese culture, there's a couple of shots of Godzilla that aren't that great, but they're not the important shots.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, when you see Godzilla going full bore Godzilla, he looks awesome.
He looks great. Oh my God. And the atomic breath, you were right. He is not lying. That is the best display of atomic breath they've ever done in a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
It was so
it actually made Godzilla scary.
Yeah.
But
how many times did I jump out of my seat when we watched that yesterday?
I don't know.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
As soon as you saw his back start to glow, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
They're screwed, But so tomorrow we'll be reviewing Godzilla -1. Next week, we're unfortunately, thanks to Alex, we're going to be doing Let He Who Is Without Sin.
It's my fault. I was the one.
Yeah, I know, because you actually
week,
suggested it. You jerk.
Well, no, I was like, well, he's got to pay 50 for that, and he did. So no, I'm going to start saying ridiculous numbers like 200, and then.
So, but we'll be doing Acolyte episode 4 next Wednesday, and I'm genuinely looking forward to it. I want to see what happens.
Me too, and I can't. I'm going to get so much shit from people, but I don't even care.
I don't care. I've always been that way, Bo. Though, when I got excommunicated from the Phantom Menace over Captain Marvel, I was like, yeah, F you guys. Because if you can't be honest, it comes back to, and I know I'm not trying to get all Christian preaching on you, but what does it matter if you get the whole world and all it costs is your soul?
Right.
I am not going to, give up my integrity just so I can get more clicks.
Yeah.
And
I barely got 400 subscribers on my channel, so I don't care. I give them,
And Thomas says, FYI, Godzilla didn't make $1 billion like you said, made $115 million. You looked at what it made in yen.
It only made $100 million profit. Oh, my bad. Whatever. Come on.
And I believe if you what does it say on Box Office Mojo for the total box office for?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I don't think I ever said it was $1 billion, did I?
I don't know. I honestly,
I don't
recall you ever saying.
I know it made. I know it made in the hundreds of millions, but.
Okay, according to the Box Office Mojo, worldwide 115,857,413
on a $15 million budget.
Yeah,
and also do keep in mind that this is a foreign film, and unlike Hollywood, guess what foreign films don't spend a buttload of money on? Marketing.
Right, exactly.
And so, in fact, a lot of people didn't even know about, how Godzilla -1 became a success through word of mouth, not because, I never saw a commercial for it. I never even saw a trailer for it in theaters. It was all
word of mouth, yeah.
Everybody was just saying, have you seen this movie? And so I was like, oh, is it playing around here? And then the wife and I went to see it, and we were like, holy crap. That was freaking awesome. And it was a Toho Godzilla movie.
Yeah, so Battlestar is, we got to do what the people want. If we keep getting paid, we'll get derailed. That's the plan.
We will always accept bribes, but in the meantime, we have Battlestar Galactica is always our go-to backup. So if we have a week where it's like, oh crap, we don't have content, hey, let's watch a couple episodes of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be our go-to basically until we get to the series, or until Danny, just explodes when he sees Ty banging 6.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, what I want to see is what I was saying earlier. I want to see a different point of view of those same events. I want to know how those witches died. I want to know who blew up the reactor there. What happened to Mother Coral?
If the reactor was blown up by somebody.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to see. And we'll see, though. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that, but what I really do want to see, something that, and I know you hated the show, but something that I think, except for Obi-Wan, we haven't really seen in any of his Disney Plus shows. I want to see an epic lightsaber fight. And, because I've always, lightsabers are the coolest thing. It's the coolest sci-fi weapon, bar none. There's no sci-fi weapon as cool as a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I want to see, now that we're doing a story about the Jedi in their prime, and Saul is a badass. I love Saul, both as a character, and we saw his skill. And so I want to see him fighting a Sith Lord that equals his skill.
So I hope we get that's why I loved Revenge of the Sith, the lightsaber duel at the end. Come on.
That was a good lightsaber fight, but seeing seeing May taking on these Jedi has been fun, but May's not using a lightsaber.
Yeah.
At least not yet. Maybe she will by the end. And if we find out that Coral is still alive and out there wielding a lightsaber, she's going to be bad news. and not to mention, is the man in black that we see, if assuming it's a man, if that's a genuine Sith Lord, I want to see that character fighting somebody.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And so there's a lot to be revealed there, and I'm genuinely curious to see where it's going. I'm hoping that this is not a one and done series, as far as like if they wrap it all up and we never get a season 2. That would suck, because I think Saul is a great addition to the Star Wars universe. He really is.
No, I agree.
He's one of the coolest Jedi, because he's very unique. He's different than all the Jedi we've seen before, but he feels like a real Jedi, at least to me. And as far as the girls, like this season of The Acolyte could just be about the girls, and then next season be about something else, but keep Saul in it. That's, if they kill Saul, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be really mad, because I really like his character.
Yeah. And mad respect to the actor. If what you told me last night was true.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact for those of you that don't know, this guy, most people, you may recognize him if you've seen Squid Games on Netflix. This is his first American role, and he literally learned English to speak the lines in this show. And so that's why his accent is so thick, but, it also comes across as very genuine.
It's hella impressive if that's the case. That's,
So, yeah, that is a real Korean accent there. So I want to see more. And that's a good thing. What does Ross say here? This season will be about girls, and next season will be about something else. Keep dreaming. Well, look. If the showrunner wants all the seasons to have a lot of strong women in it, that's fine. But I want to see more of the character Saul. So far, he is the most interesting new addition to the Star Wars universe in this show.
Well, I would have said Adara, but she's dead, so there's that.
Well, I did like her, but I don't think she had enough development time to really call her that interesting. She was just badass. Yeah. It would have been nice to have seen her and Saul working together on a case.
Yeah.
I guess they could do a prequel to The Acolyte.
I'd say all the hate that's being spewed, I'll be surprised if this gets a season 2. To be
you know what? I don't know. The problem is that, keep in mind, a lot of the hate stuff that's out there, people are pulling information out of their butts. They're going to clickbait articles that don't know what they're talking about, that don't have sources and stuff.
Well, shit, man, even Forbes magazine buried this episode.
Yeah, but that was a Forbes, that was a what do you call it? What's the print term for an opinion piece?
Editorial?
It was like an editorial piece. It wasn't like Forbes magazine's official position, the show sucks,
Gotcha. Okay.
This was a review by one guy. But all this stuff about, it's failing, the ratings, blah, blah, blah. You know what? We don't know, because we don't see streaming numbers. And Disney and Paramount and, Prime and Netflix, they're not going to tell us the streaming numbers. And the reason they don't tell us the streaming numbers is because they don't want their competition to know the streaming numbers. Because if Disney says, hey, we got 115 million people watching this show, then Netflix is going to immediately turn around and say, we got 300 million people watching this show. And, and either they're going to lie about their numbers or they're going to exaggerate the numbers.
Brian, I don't know about Disney, but Kathleen Kennedy, yes. Apparently the story goes that this showrunner came to Lucasfilm with an idea, and Kathleen Kennedy said, no, I hired you because I wanted you to make your version of Star Wars, not our version of Star Wars, and completely changed it. So I think Kathleen Kennedy is intentionally stirring. I think she's the worst thing ever happened to Star Wars.
I do think that, there's definitely a problem here. And it's funny, because if you haven't seen the Panderverse South Park movie, I think there's a lot of truth to that.
We had some people quoting it in the chat earlier.
Yeah. But in the Panderverse, keep in mind that while it's true that Kathleen Kennedy was intentionally causing problems, Cartman was also intentionally causing problems. And that's what we have right now. We have these producers and executives and actors who are attacking fans, but the fans are also attacking them. And it's just, it's like the Democrats and the Republicans. They're just attacking each other because they're on the other side of the aisle. And I'm tired of it. I want to, you know what I want to talk about? Star Wars. I don't want to talk about Kathleen Kennedy. I don't give a crap about Kathleen Kennedy. I give a crap about what I see on screen. And yeah, I know Kathleen Kennedy was fired like 17 times. Just ask Doomcock.
Okay.
All right. So with that, any final thoughts on the Acolyte?